Welcome. You have reached review time with Emperiol. Today's review will be the new Us movie, written and directed by Jordan Peele, starring Lupita Nyong'o. Let's get into this movie. Kind of like the follow-up to the breakout movie, Get Out, that was a success 2 years ago. Now, Lupita's character is Adele Wilson. Her husband is Winston Duke. His name is Gabe Wilson. Son is Jason Wilson. Daughter is Zara Wilson. So, the scene of the movie picked up at the when Adele or Adelaide's, I think her name was Adelaide, not Adele, I said Adele. Adelaide Wilson, when she was a little girl, and on her birthday, her parents took her to Santa Cruz on the beach, the carnival on the beach. And her father was intoxicated. The mom needed to go to the bathroom. And her as a little girl, which kids do, wanders off. So when she wanders off, she ended up wandering on the beach where there was like a fun house. You know, back in the day, we go to the carnival, the fun house that have mirrors all over. So it was like a type house like that. So the electricity shut out. And when it shut out, the mirror house, it became dark. Now, keep in mind, no one else is in this haunted house or mirror house, supposedly. She started whistling to calm her nose down, but then she instantly started to hear the whistles echo back. She got to a point where she was in the mirror and she was backing up to the mirror, and when she backed up, the reflection didn't change. And to her surprise, it was a reflection of herself. Now, you don't know that at first because it just shows her be shocked, and it instantly shoots to this scene of her parents in a doctor's psychologist's office, and they're asking the doctor what can they do to help the daughter, and the doctor believes she just got post-traumatic stress and she's not talking. So they're asking the doctor how could they get her back, and they basically saying, you know, just have her do the things she like to do, draw, dance, you know, maybe that'll help bring her back to life. And the mom was, of course, upset with the dad. That was past tense. That was in 1986. Back in 1986, the world had this thing going on where you would group with each other and hold hands, and they would try to do that across the many states of the U.S., basically showing unification. So it fast forward to present day. Present day, Adelaide has a family, and they're headed to vacation. And when they get to vacation, they get to their vacation home, and you see the family, you see the daughter, she likes being on her phone. You see the son, he's already wearing this wolf mask. And, of course, the father is the quirky, corny type father, real cool in the same sense. And they're in the house, and the little kid is playing around. They're at the table eating dinner, having their conversation. So you instantly start to notice some behaviors that is off about two people in particular, the mom and the son. The dad is just quirky, the little girl is just being a teenager. Now, what happens from there is they have another family that they're acquainted with that's down there, and they're going to be at the Santa Cruz beach. The husband is telling the wife that he want to go down there. She doesn't want to go down there because of what happened to her when she was young. So she doesn't express herself, he convinces her that basically it'd be good for Jason, which is the little boy, because he hasn't been there since the grandma passed. So you go from there. Now they're headed to the beach. Now you also notice some things where the mom, like, I Got 5 on It, you done heard that song throughout the previews. Well, the mom is telling the little boy to get on beat with the song, and she's telling him how to get on beat, but she's off beat herself. The little girl is looking at that, but just, looking at it like, look at her trying to tell him how to be on beat, and she ain't on beat herself. And then she teaches him how to, but he's really not, he's still off beat. He got this little thing, like a magic trick, it lights up lighter or whatever it is. It's annoying, they should have took it from him, but he keeps trying to light it, whatever it is. So, they finally get to the beach. They see their friends. Oh yeah, before fast forward, rewind, I skipped the part where the dad, he buys a boat off somebody, like a used boat, and he's happy that he got this boat, but the boat is kind of like Jimmy rigged to work. And if you don't know what Jimmy rigged, basically like put together to work, gotta do certain things to keep it going. So when he gets to the beach, he sees the family, they greet each other, the kids go off. Adelaide is a little standoffish with the wife. The wife said, and she kind of said, I'm not like real social. And she said, I understand. So the other couple has 2 teenage twins. They asked her, the twins asked the little kid, the little brother, what are you making? And he pretty much says, I'm making an underground tunnel, where most kids in the sand, they playing, they making castles or whatever. He's making underground tunnel. So, case in point, another weird moment with the kid. And so you always know at the beach what happens with the kids. If you're not paying attention with them, what they do, they dip off. All movies, even in real life, kids in general do tricks. So pay attention to your kids while you're out there. Nevertheless, back to what's going on at the show. I mean, the movie, I'm sorry. So after a while, the mom start to notice, like, okay, where's Jason? Everybody screaming, where's Jason? The dad off in his world. The little girl, teenage girl, she's off her world. Meanwhile, Jason then strolled off. There goes the old haunted house that always been there, still there to this day, and the mirror house, I keep saying haunted. And it says, find yourself, in the on the top of the house, the mirror house. And there's a man sitting there with his hands open, with blood on his hands. And Jason walks up to him, and then a mom grabs him, tells him don't walk off like that. So they was like, we need to go. So they left and went home. You're not really thinking nothing of it. From there, when they get back home, she has a moment with the son, and that's what you see on the previews and the trailers, where she says, stick with me, I keep you safe. You don't think nothing of that until later on in the movie. And while she was little, there was a man on the pier where she was at that held a sign that said Jeremiah 11:11, and that 11:11 kept coming in sequence. So then the little boy pointed to the clock before he went to bed with her, and it said 11:11. Weird, but not paying attention. But you know, you're watching this knowing it's a sequence, because you know what that paper said, what that dude on the pier had. And so the little boy came out to the parents and said, it's a family in the driveway. And they were like, well, get out of here. And before they know it, they looked, and there was a family in the driveway. And that's when you see all the scenes from the trailer. You see the dad go out there and talk stuff and all that. Nevertheless, they get a signal to charge. The dad comes through with the bat, but he hurry up and rushes back into the house, and then from there, all the different parts disperse, and then they had a key at the house that was like in rocks. Like, you know, some people like that live out in those neighborhoods, they put spare keys to their house and they put them outside in the yard, and it looks like a rock, but it's really not a rock. It's a capsule that keeps the key in. So that was that, and from there, that's how they got in the house. So they call themselves tetterers. And if you watch movies, they call them doppelgangers. Basically, somebody looks exactly like you off in another place in the world. And so the Adelaide character that looks like her starts talking, and she's describing the story of Adelaide's life, where she's the shadow and Adelaide's living this great life. Now this becomes, you don't really understand the story fully until the end of the movie. Like, you hear her saying this story while you're watching it, but you're not really fully understanding what she's talking about fully when she's explaining it. So from there, each one that looked at each other, they told each one to go off with that person. So the tetterer of the dad drug him because he hurt. He got hit with the bat. So he drug him outside all the way to the boat that he just purchased. And his plan was to kill him. So the little girl run track. So she told the little girl run. She ran. I guess she was running to get help, or wherever she's running to. They already called the cops. The cops said they'd be there 14 minutes. The little boy, she told them to go play. Weird, right? So she told them to go play. So they all got these knives, gold knives that they use to kill, sharp shears. They call them shears. I said knives. Instead of scissors, they call shears. So she's sitting there with Adelaide. Both Adelaides are sitting there looking at each other, and she's conversating with her. And the good Adelaide is handcuffed to the desk, or the table rather. And when the other Adelaide, the tether Adelaide, came in, she looked at the picture of the mom that was above, the grandma that was above the fireplace, and admired it. And then before she started to speak, and they like, what do you want from us? And she was like, we're Americans. Like she said, they asked her, who are you? And they said, we're Americans. But she said it real funny and weird, like they was aliens or something. So some real creepy moments in the movie. I thought I had to give a breakdown like this because a lot of stuff that goes on in this movie could go over your head, and you might be thinking something totally different or whatever. So back to the movie. The dad goes through his trials and tribulations with the tether out in the water. They fight it out. The good dad end up winning. The little girl, she ran and she got into it a little bit with the other little girl, but then some guy came out of the house and distracted, and she got away, and tether evil girl went and killed the man. From there, the little boy, he did tricks. So the mom had told him when he went off, she told him to teach him some of your tricks or whatever. So he taught him a trick, and when he went in they was in that little room that you see in the trailer where you see them both looking at each other. The tether of the little boy has a burnt, he wears a mask because he's burnt up underneath, and he's burnt up across his mouth. How he got that way, who knows? But he's a firebird. He likes to play with fire, so go figure. And nevertheless, the other little boy did a tricked him to get scared. And the other little boy mimics they mimic each other. So he locked him in the room, in the closet. And that closet will only be opened up, it can't be pushed in from the other way. So when that tether evil son was in the closet beating on the door, the mom went to save him, and she left the good Adelaide alone, which gave her the opportunity to break away. Meanwhile, the kids came back in, they rounded the kids up. The dad came back with the boat, they drove off the boat. They fast forward to the friends that they was down there with, and the mom came out of nowhere. They was enjoying themselves. The girls was in their room. The mom came out and was like, "Hey, I hear something outside." And he like, "Man, I don't hear nothing outside. What's wrong with you, man? I just want to enjoy myself. I'm kicking back, drinking my alcohol." So when he looked outside, he said, "Yo, it's somebody out there." He made a joke, said it was OJ. But before he know it, these people had tethers too. That shocked everybody. Oh, stuff, it's tethers. So, but their tethers ain't come talk to them. Their tethers came and killed all of them from the rip. Ain't waste no time. Killed them from the rip, no talking, nothing. And so, the other family on the boat, they took their boat to their friends looking for safe haven. Now, why they didn't take that boat and keep on moving, your guess would be good as mine. But they went to their friends, still stayed in the town, and it's a movie, so that's why they went to their friend's house. Went to their friend's house, and instantly they noticed something was off, something was wrong, and the male tether answered the door, and Adelaide hit him in the head with a crowbar, but he ain't died. He kept coming, and then the rest of the family drug her into the house. So the dad lured his friend's tether outside to get away from the kids. Meanwhile, they snatched the mom, took her upstairs, handcuffed her to to the bedpost, and the kids are now coming in. And the kids are now coming in to defend their mom, basically to go get their mom. And they put in some work, you know what I'm saying? They went off, killed a few of the tethers, and now it's an important role. The dad ended up luring the other tether into the boat of his friends, and he killed them. So when he got back in the house, they were all sitting at the table talking, and they was like pretty much like, "Yo, what we gonna do?" And so the little boy said something, said, "Is there going to be any more duplicates," basically. And they all started to look like, wow, well, let's turn on the news. They turned on the news, and there was plenty of people in red attire killing people all across the world, and across the U.S. rather, and they were all starting to form into that line that I said, where it lines up across the whole U.S. where it shows unity. So they like, oh snap, well, let's take their car. So they forgot the keys. They all got outside. Now the dad is injured. The mom is like, I'll go back in and grab the keys. Of course, when she go back and grab the keys, one of the detectives is up and moving around and attacks her. Now, you notice something when she's being attacked. She kind of responds in a way that wasn't normal. At the time you're watching this, you don't really take it like nothing. You just like, all right, whatever. Like, you know, she killed her. When the son goes back in the house, and he sees his mom kill the Tetter, and he looks at her, she looks at him, and they just gave each other like a weird look. And they came back out with the keys. And when they came back out with the keys, the daughter was saying, I want to drive. She like, Dad's leg is hurt, and you still got the handcuffs on. I gotta drive. And she kept this little sequence. You don't got time to be arguing with your mom and arguing with your daughter. Just get a damn car. Get out the car. You being grown. Nevertheless, they had this argument, and before they know it, the little girl Tetra, that is the doppelganger of Zora, is right there. And so she told everybody, buckle up. And of course, she tries to run her over, but the thing moves and jumps on top of the car, try to stab inside of the car. And now, but she don't really understand like how the way of a car works and everything. So she's hanging on by the shears, and she pushes on the brakes and goes flying in the woods. So the mom like, I gotta get out. Now you like, come on, here we go with the dumb stuff. She want to get out to make sure she's dead or whatever. She want to make sure that she's dead, and it's a reason for that. You don't find out till later. So she made sure that she's dead. Now you're wondering, okay, y'all in a car. Now you think y'all on a mission to get gone. Before you know it, the mom is driving, and they wind up back at Santa Cruz Beach. And you like, what is going on? Like, why y'all back at why? So, pissing you off at the moment, but you following the movie. And from there, you see the little kid, Tetter, of the son Jason. He pops up with his mask on. So she gets out the car. They wondering, he's telling her, the husband telling her, yo, man, get back in the car. We not, you know what I'm saying? We ain't worried about all that. Let's get going. Meanwhile, the little kid that you didn't see, he rolled something underneath the car. And you didn't see what he rolled underneath the car. So when the mom went to approach him, she goes to approach him, but she doesn't hit him or try to kill him. She goes over to take his hand or whatever. And the little kid, Jason, the good one, he's like, yo, this is a trap. Because he knows how that little kid is thinking. So they get a trap, and when you look on the ground, there's gasoline leading up to the underneath the car. So he knows that little kid mimics him. So he start doing things to mimic. He start doing things to mimic, so the kid can mimic him. And he start walking backwards, and the kid start walking backwards. And that's when you see in the trailer where the kid is in the fire. And that's what he did. He got the kid to walk back into the fire or whatever. And he had a connection to the mom. So When all that's going on, and she screams when he walks into the fire. The good Adelaide screams when she walks into the fire. And when all that's going on, Jason is off to the side, and then the bad Adelaide goes and snatches him up and dips off. And of course, like I said, they had Santa Cruz at the beach. Where does that woman take him to? Right, the Mirror House. Pisses you off. Now, at the beginning of the movie, I left this part out. There's some scripts, writing scripts, that basically say, in America, there are a lot of like subways and towns and places, mines that people no longer use, but they're still there. And, you know, basically saying like these places are not being used or not being occupied, but people could be living there though. That like the underground world, pretty much. So that's what happens is she goes into the Mirror House and she finds the like trap door, and now she's following all through this trap door, and that's when you see her in the trailer. Looks like she's going through like a subway or something like that. She's going through deep down in the subway. When she finally arrives, she's in what you see in the trailer, which looks like a nut house. And it has rabbits running all around. Now that goes back to where the Tetra was explaining she was eating raw rabbits or whatever. That was their food. And that's where they come from, this area where now the good Adelaide was looking for her son. So she finally finds the bad Adelaide, and the bad Adelaide is pretty much describing everything what you once seen. So a lot of the story is now starting to unfold on what is taking place on everything. So they get into like a fighting match, and they fighting for scenes, and the bad Adelaide is pretty much outthinking the other Adelaide and stabbing her, slicing her up. But she could have killed her, but she didn't. But you know, she was playing with her and stuff. So you already know when they playing with them and you don't kill them when you had a chance, you already know what's gonna happen with that. So eventually, she killed the would-be good Adelaide. Killed the bad Adelaide. Now, I've been saying this whole time so you don't miss stuff. They were saying how when she's told the story of everything, she told the story how the government had cloning programs where every time a person was born in the U.S., they would take their DNA and go clone them. And what they would do is have that person's clone use that clone to do something, and what happened is the program became unsuccessful. So they just did away with the program. Meanwhile, left these people down there basically to fend for themselves. Now, what happened was every time that person, so when she was explaining her story, she was saying, well, the good Adelaide, she got to love her husband. She learned to love her husband. She fell in love with him, and she fell in love with her kids. She was given a family. She was given kids. So it wasn't no attachment or whatever. Meanwhile, the government did away with the program and left them to fend for themselves. So she said the people, all the other Tetras looked at her as being special. You know why they looked at her as being special? Because they all couldn't speak. They all couldn't do anything. Really too much think for themselves. They couldn't learn. She became special because the bad Tetra switch when they seen each other when they was little girls. They switched. She switched her. She choked her, knocked her out, took her to her headquarters. Meanwhile, she left and went back with the mom and them. She couldn't speak when she was in the psychology office because she didn't know how to speak. So they had to learn. So the bad Tetter that I've been calling good the whole time is really the bad one that comes from the clone. Meanwhile, the good one was plotting and planning all these years, and she got all the other Tetters on board because they looked at her as being special because she could dance and she could speak. So they all followed her, and she got them all in routine and waited for her time to strike. So that was like the crazy twist at the end of the movie that you see, like, oh snap, dang. Okay, that was the bad one. But you kind of figured they switch, and then but everything tied in. So when it all tied in together, you see that they switch. You see that the government cloning, like the MK Ultra and all that stuff. That if you ever watch videos about cloning and MK Ultra and all that stuff, like that stuff could be real. It's a very high chance that stuff could be real. And that's what this movie is promoting. And then the husband doesn't know that she's really a clone, the real her she killed. And that's why she wanted to make sure that all of them was dead, is because she wanted to make sure all of them was dead is because they can't come back to kill them. Now, when she went into finding the little boy, he was looking at her funny, like, and then she looked at him like, it's me. Like she took her hair, went over like, it's me, it's your mom, it's me. But he knows. You know why he know? That ain't his mom. Cause he was a Tetter himself. They don't show that where he could have got switched at or when he got switched, but it's obvious he's been weird the whole movie. It's certain things he was off with, and he was a Tetter himself, because it's a moment when at the end of the movie they look at each other and she give him that look like, yeah, I was once a clone, and now I'm the one that's out here, the other one's dead. And she looking at him like, yeah, you was once a clone, and now the other one is dead. And they both looking at each other, and all he did was he put his mask on his head, face forward, and kept it moving. So, in a nutshell, this was Lupita Nyong'o did a fabulous job. Her acting skills is phenomenal. Her range of acting, man, like to see her in a horror film, to see her, like her acting skills is great. I give this movie out of 4 stars. 3.5 out of 4 stars. The movie has some, when you first watch it at a glance, you might think one way, but after you go back and watch it and understand everything that's going on, the message behind it, I can see if somebody get it 3 out of 4 stars. I give it 3.5 out of 4 stars. The movie was good. The movie was decent. It's not really a horror film. It's more like a thriller. There's no post-credit scene afterwards. Kudos to Lupita Nyong'o. Shout out to Jordan Peele. Good job. Rotten Tomatoes said it was 100%. I guess that's opinionated, so my ratings is my opinion, so I guess anybody can say whatever, right? So other than that, subscribe and like, share the video, comment if you've seen it. Let me know how you felt about it. Did you catch anything that I might didn't catch that could go along with the story? Till next time.